What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the ZigZag. My name is Corbin Elliott, and thank you for joining me here today. So, of course, it's that time of the week. We're doing the little weekly review of everything that's been going on inside the WWE. And I've had people ask me, Corbin, what is the ZigZag? So, this is my personal podcast where I come on here and I just talk through current events in the WWE. Maybe I do a tier list over random different wrestlers and their finishing moves, all the way to predictions for WrestleMania, per se. So, and you're probably wondering where I got the name The Zigzag, because most other channels are, it's wrestling is cool, or you have the Raw Reaction podcast. Like there's all these different kind of podcasts that people have made that actually have the name WWE or wrestling, some sort of that aspect in the name. Why I don't is because I want my name to stand out a little bit more. The Zigzag is something that it stands out. It's very cool on its own, but also underneath has a deeper meaning. The name Zigzag comes from my favorite finishing move of all time, from Dolph Ziggler, of course, the Zigzag. If you listen to this podcast, you know this already, but for anyone new joining us, I just did want to throw that out there because I have been asked before. So if you guys could do me a favor, make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Please go check out my Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. It's all under the Zigzag or at ZigZag06. You will find all of my content there. I do a lot more fun stuff. So if you like the podcast, please go check out that stuff. Seriously, we have a lot of fun. So kind of just jumping right in with some pretty bad breaking news, especially for me. We have been told that Chelsea Green does have a broken ankle. She sustained it in her chamber qualifying match last week. And honestly, that really sucks because Chelsea genuinely probably is, like I've been saying, the best part of SmackDown week in and week out. So seeing her hurt sucks, but something good nothing good comes from this, but a positive that is coming out of this is that they did show her on TV in a wheelchair, which I will get to in a little bit. But I just think hopefully they keep Chelsea on TV in little backstage segments so she can keep evolving her character and she can keep elevating SmackDown to where it needs to be consistently. So, best of luck to her in her recovery, and SmackDown will be missing her presence on matches at least. Corbin, who are your top 5 favorite people on the active roster right now? See, this changes every little bit. So the top 5, it fluctuates, and I'm even going to have to write these down for myself so I don't repeat myself. Let's just start with the obvious one. Number 1 is Dominic Mysterio. I'm currently wearing his shirt. He's on my flag back there. He's the best character, in my opinion. I think everything he does is incredible. I like his moveset. He's got all the charisma in the world. There's no reason not to like Dirty Dom. I mean, gets the most heat. Even still, like even whenever he's kind of in this babyface persona a little bit, he can kind of just do no wrong, basically. He's still getting booed from fans over on SmackDown every time he goes over there, even though he's getting chanted in a lightful manner over on Raw. But just his character work and his transition he's made from back in 2020 to 2026 is just incredible, and he's the number 1. Number 2 for me, technically he's not active because he's hurt, but I'm not going to look at that. He's active. It's Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is my number 2. I think Seth Rollins is top 4 greatest wrestlers of all time. A lot of people don't agree with that, but whenever it's all said and done and you look back on Seth Rollins' career, you're going to be like, oh, that 19-year-old kid that's doing this in his dorm room is correct. He's right. I think that the legacy of Seth Rollins is it's huge. It really is. And his accolades that he's been able to obtain over the years is something that other people may not even touch in the future. Number 3, I'm going to bounce it over to a girl who I was literally just talking about. It's Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is the best part of SmackDown, in my opinion. She's the most entertaining, has the best character. Honestly, every time she's involved, she puts on the best matches. If you want to really go see what she can do, go watch Lucha Underground, Chelsea versus Penta, or, any of her matches. You could even go on the indies in ECW days. I mean, she just kills it over there as well. So Chelsea's my 3. In the 4 slot, this is where it kind of gets tough because I don't want to leave people out. And this might sound a little bit insane. Actually, it's not insane. It's the new El Grande Americano. The reason for this is because I've said this many a time. This is because this was a gimmick that was meant to die. It was a gimmick made for somebody else. And he kind of just got handed it, and he had to run with it. And guess what? Not only did he do a good job, he made the gimmick better, and now has created this huge storyline where you are getting old El Grande Americano versus the new El Grande Americano. And this is something we might never see again out of the WWE, and that is why he is my number 4. At my 5 slot, I think I got to go with another girl. And for me, it's between Liv Morgan and Io Sky. They're both spectacular. It's really hard for me to choose, but or Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane's like a dark horse for me. I think she's super entertaining as well. I'm gonna go with Io Sky at the moment because this fluctuates. I'm pretty sure Liv was in my top 5 in the last time I updated you guys on this, but the matches Io puts on are genuinely incredible. She's going to go out there. It's going to be fast-paced. She's going to put in a ton of fantastic moves like the Scorpion Rana and, the over-the-moonsault and all these different moves to help the match become this big, beautiful project. And that's why she's at my 5. So top 5 was, at number 5, Io Sky. 4, new El Grande Americano. Number 3, Chelsea Green. Number 2, Seth Rollins. And number 1 is Dirty Dominic Mysterio. So, next up, we got the Finn Balor match marathon that is going on right now on YouTube. They only put match marathons up whenever something is going to happen with this person. Or they put up YouTube videos that like earlier this year, it was like Dirty Dom's best title defenses with the Intercontinental Championship. And that kind of clued me in. It's like, oh, he's going to lose this soon. And he lost it to John Cena at Madison Square Garden. So it's kind of a thing where like whenever they start posting or giving highlights to a certain superstar over on their YouTube, or maybe even if they're highlighting them a lot on Instagram, you can kind of take that and run and suspect that they are probably going to do something with this person and try and elevate them through the use of media. And that is why I think like the Finn Balor face turns coming at Survivor Series, which I think I'm probably going to talk about a little bit later. But the face turn's coming. We all know that. I sure hope we all know that. I mean, if you have half a brain cell, you would know that this is happening. So I'm excited for that. And I think that the match marathon is just further proving that this is going to happen. Next, I'm going to run it over to NXT from last night. I always try to do NXT first and then bump it down to SmackDown and Raw. It's not that NXT is like the worst show. It's just like kind of everything just falls into place where it's like NXT is the young people and then SmackDown is my least favorite and then it's Raw ending it all up. So Zaruka comes out to save, Zarya comes out to save Sol Ruka and takes out Fatal Influence. What do I think? So I saw this, and this is immediately what I think. This is the calm before the storm. This is Dominic yelling at Liv before they turn on Rhea Ripley. This is, the Shawn Michaels super kick to the Undertaker into the pedigree before the kick out. The calm before the storm. They are breaking up. at the next PLE. Whenever Sol Ruka gets her title shot, Zarya's turning on her, because now it's like they've had all these problems. They've built the story. Now they can give everybody a false sense of hope that they're not going to split up, and they're splitting up the next PLE. Maybe even sooner, but I think they should do it at a PLE because this is a pretty big tag team. So I think the run's been great. I want Sol to win a singles title before she heads to the main roster, but at this point, I don't even care. Just send her to the main roster, please. And Zarya too. Zarya is fantastic as well. She can be a huge powerhouse on one of the brands. So I don't know where they go from here. They're definitely going to feud for a while, but it should probably end with Sol ending up with the title, I would think. But who knows? The Vanity Project was all over NXT last night, and I just got to say, I like these guys a lot. It is for just pompous, arrogant white boys, and I love it. I think it's really funny what they do, and, you know, they're being kind of portrayed as this tag team that probably isn't good enough to be winning these matches, but they keep winning because, you know, they're heels, and they're cheating to win a little bit, and they're working together. And they are becoming a staple tag team on NXT. And along with Jackson Drake, who's the Evolve champion, and he's kind of been doing his thing as a single star. So the Vanity Project as a whole, I think, is doing a great job. Then turning around to Ethan Page. Ethan Page has single-handedly elevated the North American title to an extreme new height. I mean, who genuinely cared about the North American title? It's the mid-card NXT title. You know, a bunch of random people have held it. And it's just kind of like, okay, cool. But Ethan Page has made this the front of NXT. It is, like, I would say it's as prestigious as the NXT championship. It's like they just have, you know, the SmackDown WWE championship and then the World Heavyweight Championship over on Raw. Like, that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like this is, like, you know, the main championship on Raw and then the Intercontinental Championship. It doesn't feel like that. That's not the dynamic we're getting. And I think it's because Ethan Page has done such a good job pushing this title to new heights. And I think he is bound to lose it soon. I think him losing it to Miles Bourne, like they were showing on NXT last night, I think him losing it to Miles Bourne would make a lot of sense because Ethan Page is going to the main roster soon, I hope. Now he is doing this thing with the Vanity Project, and it's like maybe they're going to continue pushing on that. But at the same time, it's like, I want Ethan Page in the main roster. I want him on Raw really bad. And I really think he could elevate any championship to new heights at this point after seeing what he's done with a North American title. Where are the Street Profits? Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw this online. We got a little picture of Montez Ford. Dude, this dude's probably been in the dieting hall like me. He's put on some pounds. Now, I understand the bulk. Bulking is a W. It's a good strategy. But at the same time, like, he looks big. But also, Montez Ford is probably one of those guys that can, like, go on a diet for a week and he cuts everything off immediately and he looks like $1 million. But, you know, he's just bigger at this point. We haven't seen the Street Profits, I think, since they either lost the titles to the Wyatt Six, or in that, I think, were they in the ladder match? They were in the 6-man, the 4-team ladder match. So the eight man ladder match. Yeah. That was, you know, at SummerSlam. We haven't seen them since then. And it sucks because they're such good baby faces, and they were kind of teasing a split up, and that would have been sick. And then all of a sudden they're back together again in full strength, and now they're off TV. And it's like, where are they at? Is one of them hurt? We genuinely haven't gotten anything about them. I hope it's not something where the WWE is like, we don't need these people anymore, and they get rid of them. Please do not do that. They're probably one of my favorite tag teams. I mean, they're definitely my favorite my SmackDown tag team. 100% my favorite over there. But even probably comparatively to Raw, I don't even know who would be my favorite on Raw. I mean, this is probably my favorite tag team. in the entire WWE, and it's a lot of people's favorites as well. So I don't understand why they've been off TV for so long. I wish WWE would give us an update on why that's been happening, but who knows? I want them back. Moving over to the U.S. title. Carmelo Hayes throws shots at Monday Night Raw. He claims U.S. Championship is the best title on either show. I said what I said. Now here's the thing. You might hear that and be like, he's just like trying to put the title over. Is he necessarily wrong? I don't think he's necessarily wrong. If you want to go from a match standpoint, if you just take story completely out of it and you're just like, who puts on good match, banger after banger, week in, week out? Yeah, the U.S. title is the best title. But granted, that's what it's for. It has been built as this thing that's like, okay, this is the championship that gets shown on TV all the time, yada, yada. That's cool. That's fine. I like that. But from a storytelling perspective, there hasn't been a bunch of stories built up around the U.S. championship other than, The Miz randomly getting involved and then Ilya Dragunov, like, kind of being mad at Carmelo Hayes. And, like, it hasn't really, you can't really develop a story by having a match every single week. But granted, you don't really need it all the time. But Melo throwing shots at Raw is funny because Raw is throwing shots at SmackDown. And also Drew McIntyre, I'm pretty sure this, last week, threw shots back at Raw because they were trashing on his title. Now, what I would like for them to do, I would love this to be planting seeds. I want them to plant seeds now to get SmackDown versus Raw. Bring that back. That is really what everybody wants. Get your 5 best from SmackDown, get your 5 best from Raw, and have a 10-man tag match to see who's the better brand. What brand could you put over? And I think if you're, Carmelo Hayes or Drew McIntyre and you're throwing shots over at Raw, you're going to get these guys like Dominic Mysterio and CM Punk and a bunch of these other guys who are going to end up throwing shots back at you the second they get the mic in their hand because they're trying to individually put over their title one and they're also trying to put over their brand. They are the face of the brand at the same time. So I think I like this. I like this dynamic where it's like, let's not have it be like, oh, Raw and SmackDown are best friends. No, I want them clashing. I want both brands to be like, this is the better brand. This is why you need to tune in and watch every Friday. This is why you got to be on every Monday. You have to be watching each brand. And I think Raw is way better than SmackDown, but it elevates both brands as well. So I like this. Solo Sikoa is my next topic. This man is a goober. And I think I said this last week. The second he gets a solo push, LOL, it is going to be golden, straight gold. And it's not even it's his mannerisms and the way he makes fun of people where it's like, oh, Solo, you suck. And then he gets on the mic and he goes, oh, Solo, you suck. Like making fun of their voice, mocking them. And it's funny because he's built up as this like big, strong tank, kind of character. But then he gets on the mic and he's really goofy. That's a great dynamic. That's like, he's like a big cuddly teddy bear that can Samoan spike you into the ground type of thing. So every time he gets the mic in his hand, it genuinely makes me so happy because there's always gonna be some comedy coming out of it. That 10-man tag match was crazy. And for the first time in, I couldn't tell you how long, Apollo Crews was on a televised match. What was he doing here? What's a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? That is what I was thinking the entire time. He tagged in and he looked fantastic, but I was just sitting there just like what? Like, what is he doing here? And it was cool to see him. And along with that, you got to put Zack Ryder over by him hitting the back-to-back Rough Riders, which are officially the name of it now, which is what they said on commentary, which I like. I think Radio Silence is cool, but the Rough Rider, that's iconic. So, and it got me hype. He hit the both back to back, and I was like, yeah, like let's go. And then of course it turns around and leads to the MFTs picking up the win. And I like this. People online were like, oh, why'd you get together all the baby faces and they lose? It's like, because they're not a team. It's 5 independent guys who might be strong on their own. But whenever you put them in a big tag setting, being a tag team or a faction gives you the boost. It should give you the boost because you were actually together. Now, I mean, if you're putting together like, dude, let's put together Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, and like if you're going to put them together, that's like a powerhouse team. That's a little bit different. But at the same time, if they're going up against like a high tier faction like Division, they should lose. Like realistically, going off like a hierarchy basis, they are not a team. They don't know how to work as a team. A tag team, a faction can work as a team. And that's how they kind of pick up the win. That's why I like the MFT win here. And they're also building Tama Tonga to be a threat. If you notice, he's gotten all of their pins, all of their finishes with his cutthroat finisher, which I think he needs to change the name. I think it's a terrible name. I like the finisher itself. I wish he'd call it something different. I don't know. But I like how they're building him up to be a threat and be strong and be this, like, you know, he's got the finisher locked down. And what I thought was weird is they pinned Carmelo Hayes, who is the U.S. champion. And then we're going to get to this later. Dominic Mysterio gets pinned on Raw, which I feel like isn't a good move because you're like, that kind of buries your mid-card championships a little bit. And I think it's a little bit weird. Now, it does make sense. It makes sense on SmackDown a little bit more because it's like, I think they want to maybe do an angle where Tama Tonga like challenges for the U.S. championship a lot more, but I'm not fully certain about that. I just thought it was a little bit weird to have him take the pin. Like, why don't you do it to like Apollo Crews? Like, as much as I like the guy, it's like, what's his overall in like 2K26 going to be? He's probably going to be like a 70 overall or whatever. Like these are people that are very low on the totem pole, and you're taking your mid-card champion and they are losing to this random person. And like this one maybe builds a story, maybe not. Dominic getting pinned, I guess it makes sense for the match because you can't pin Gunther, but at that point, just don't put Gunther in the match and have someone else get pinned. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe I'm being an idiot. The entire R-Truth and Kit Wilson segment was golden. Truth broke everybody around them. The fact that Kit Wilson didn't laugh after the you got a camel toe joke, that was insane because I was dying. And along with that, Damian Priest loses it before he even like says anything. He's just like, the second he was like, Damian, I got it. Damian was already laughing. Nick Aldis, laughs. Even Kit had to cover up his face because he was laughing whenever he was making fun of Oba putting him in the ground, basically. And this whole thing was just perfect. And this is why you need to keep R-Truth around. Just comedic relief. You need those characters. Even if they're not going out and wrestling every single week, maybe they only wrestle 4 or 5 times, in a year. You can still have these characters backstage that add comedic elements, which is what a show needs. A show can't be 100% serious. We need to have only action on camera. Like, you need these characters to contrast and build different angles around, the show. So that's what R-Truth is great as, and I thought this segment was hilarious. Alexa Bliss wins her Elimination Chamber match. Doesn't shock me that much. I don't really have that much to say. I just think Alexa Bliss was the right choice. And yeah, the chamber for the girls is looking good. So Chelsea Green shows up in a wheelchair, which is what I said a little bit earlier. Like I was saying, just keep Chelsea on TV consistently through her injury, because she can still build herself up and do all this backstage stuff and maybe even light feuds while she's in a wheelchair. And you can also get really funny stuff like, I don't know, like pushing her down like a ramp or something and she like goes flying, and like, because it makes sense because it's Chelsea. And her character getting her and staying on SmackDown just makes sense. If it were to be a Jade Cargill who breaks her leg, it's like, no, she's off TV. But Chelsea's so good, she can work with her leg. I mean, I guess it's her ankle being broken, and she can still build her character up and build up the SmackDown brand while she's in this wheelchair. Am I the only one? Okay, so this is going to be really random. Am I the only one that doesn't like Trick Williams' finisher? I think the trick shot just looks so off. Like, it looks like, I mean, I get that he's like trying not to like actually knee them in the face, but the flying knee like in the UFC is a real thing, and it's like one of my favorite moves. But this isn't working for me because it doesn't look impactful. Like, I don't know. I feel like he needs to like do, like, if he wants to do it, like grab their head and like put it into the knee, but not really put it into his knee, or do something where it's like, it's not just him like jumping up and like elevating his knee up to their height and then hitting them. And then they have to do like a 100% sell, which I guess in essence is good because it's like, well, I'm not going to hit you. This is an easy move for me to do out of nowhere. You just have to sell it like $1 million. I understand that. But Trick Williams is such a big guy that I feel like he could do something a little bit different. The trick shot just is not my favorite. It doesn't hit for me, and I don't know why. If you disagree, let me know in the comments why you think it's a great finishing move. But for me, it's just, it doesn't look scary enough to be this like main event finisher. I don't know. Dom and Liv show up to SmackDown. We all knew this was going to happen because Liv's still trying to figure out who she wants to face at not Elimination Chamber, at WrestleMania. And Dom comes out and they're booing him like crazy down on SmackDown, which, I really like. I like him getting booed. Granted, I like him being able to talk and get through a promo, but they were booing him whenever he came out, and it was pretty funny. And then Liv and Dom get a table ringside and have a date during the Women's Championship match with heart-shaped chicken nuggets. And then along with that, even after they booed him, the Dirty Dom chants were happening during the Women's Championship match, which is insane because that's kind of burying the Women's Championship over on SmackDown. But let's be honest, the SmackDown writers have done that themselves. And this is just putting Dom more over and showing you why he's, a generational talent. Because he ain't even in the match. He's just out there. He's out there eating chicken nuggets. And along with that, drinking a Dirty Dom bottle of champagne with his face on it. They cooked so hard on this date bit. Because, he gives her the flowers on Raw. And then it goes over to, to SmackDown. And it's the day before Valentine's Day, and they go on a date during SmackDown. I thought this was incredible, and it was just funny. Like, this is the kind of thing that I like, where WWE is like, I understand that we've had like match after match after match, and there's not like a ton of variation, but they put in like this little bit of effort, and they put in like this little bit of flair onto a match. They don't even do anything during the match. They literally just sit there, and Jade comes out and maybe talks a little bit of trash to Liv Morgan at a certain point, but they just sit there and they eat chicken nuggets and drink, champagne. That's the entire thing. But just that little bit of thought and effort makes it worthwhile. It gives it a little bit more flair, like I've been saying. So I thought this was just poetry in motion. And then along with that, Jade finally defends her title. It only took her 100 days. She beats Jordynne Grace. Cool. Don't really have that much to say. The writers just got to, the SmackDown booker just has to do a better job, because your women's champion not defending her title for 100 days and just going on a bunch of random matches, and it's like, oh, let's have her fight the lowest card, low down person we can find. Like at this point, it's like her just going out and fighting an Applebee's manager. That's what it's like, because she's fighting Michin and BFAB, and they've both been hurt by her. And then along with that, it's just like, okay, we finally are going to build up this thing with Jordynne Grace, and it was good. And I'm afraid what they're going to do is they're going to be like, okay, well, she defended it one time, we're good. Please don't do that. Please build up another feud of some sort with somebody. And I don't even know what to do with Jade at this point. And it's not even necessarily her fault. It's just SmackDown doesn't know how to book a champion to save their lives. Johnny Wrestling. Johnny Gargano is depressed. And his promo backstage was really sad, considering Tommaso Ciampa did leave and go to AEW, which this was probably pretty heartfelt. He said, you know, I lost that mask, you know, that Axiom took back from him. He's like, I lost my best friend. And then he said, I have nothing left. That is sad. And this probably is, you know, a little bit true, because him and Tommaso Ciampa have been wrestling each other for a very long time. And him leaving to go to another company means he can't work with one of his favorite people to work with. And him being depressed is a little bit funny. And the guys are, you know, making fun of him while he's like laying down on the crates, and he's laying down on the gym floor during his workouts, you know, if you've seen the pictures online. And it's just sad, and I wonder where they end up going with this. I want Johnny Gargano to be like, I want him to challenge for the U.S. title again, because his match was unbelievable, but I don't know what they're going to do with him. I hope he just gets a singles push, which would be sick, but who knows. Kit Wilson's poetry is incredible. This is kind of just another aspect he's adding onto his character. And he's supposed to meet against Oba next week. So this Friday, he's supposed to meet against Oba. That's gonna be something special. He's gonna get killed again. But I think here's the thing. Someone's getting involved. I think potentially Brock Lesnar might show up, or something of that nature. Someone's gonna get involved, and it's gonna start a feud with Oba. Now, do I think Kit Wilson's going to win? No. It would be hilarious. Okay. In storytelling wise, it would be horrible, because it's like you're building up Obafemi to be the next Brock Lesnar, basically, and you're going to have him lose to Kit Wilson, the tonic to the toxic. Like, you're having him lose to he's not the lowest level guy on SmackDown, but he's potentially one of the lowest guys on SmackDown, especially as a single star, which is not his fault. That's just how his character's been built at this point. And the poetry he keeps doing is really freaking funny, and he needs to make fun of Oba before their match. And I expect Kit to get killed again. But at the same time, if someone were to get involved, let's just fantasy book a little here. If Brock Lesnar decides to get involved, maybe the ref gets knocked out, goes to the outside, and Brock Lesnar, hits Obafemi with an F5 and drags Kit Wilson over, probably after hitting Kit with an F5 as well. Drags him over and lays him on top of Oba and puts the ref in the ring, and Kit Wilson were to get a win over Obafemi. It would be hilarious. And actually, I don't even think that's necessarily that bad of a loss for Oba, considering it would now ignite this huge feud, because Oba would be like, you just made me lose to, bar none, one of the worst dudes on the roster. And it would be great. And of course, it would lead up to WrestleMania, which is what we all want. So we got a few predictions for next week's Chamber matches. So we have Kiana James versus Nia Jax versus Charlotte Flair. Here's my prediction. Who do I want to win? Kiana James. Kiana James beyond deserves it. Who's going to win? Charlotte, because she's going to go face Alexa Bliss, and it's going to be awesome. And I don't want her in the Chamber. I don't want her in the WWE. You guys know my thoughts. I don't like her. And she's taken away from a younger talent yet again, because Kiana James is probably not going to win this, even though she deserves to, because she's been doing fantastic work on SmackDown. And Charlotte's going to take that away from her because, again, they're trying to build this whole Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair thing, and that's dope, but just don't do it inside the Elimination Chamber. I'm sorry. I don't want her wasting a slot to a young talent that could be showing off and showing what they can do inside of the chamber, which is a huge focused PLE. Kiana James would flourish in this kind of match, I think. And Charlotte taking that away is just going to piss me off. So my prediction to win, Charlotte, but if I pray it's Kiana James. Mello versus Priest versus Trick. This one's tough. See, this one's tough too. So I don't think Mello's going to win. Just because he's kind of doing his thing with the U.S. title. And, usually singles champion, like the mid-card people, don't go into those matches as much. But it wouldn't shock me if he would. This one's really hard to pan out because we've seen Damian Priest. He was in the chamber match for Austin Theory's U.S. title back in 2023, and that match was fantastic, and he did a great job. So he's good inside the Elimination Chamber. We know that, but they're really pushing Trick at the moment, and I think they would maybe want to give Trick a shot inside the chamber, but Damian Priest is he's so great. So I don't really know where they're going to go with this. I don't think either of these guys are going to end up winning the chamber. I'm going to say Trick Williams because they're trying to maybe get some young blood in there. So I'm going to say Trick, but it wouldn't shock me if Damian Priest was in there. It really wouldn't even shock me if Mello was in there. This is genuinely a toss-up. So Drew McIntyre comes out on the mic and says, Jacob, out of anyone that's in the chamber, you have spent the most time behind bars. That's a bar. That's a banger, little personal attack from Drew McIntyre. And then, of course, he says that, and it leads up to Drew McIntyre attacking Jacob Fatu, screws over his chamber opportunity, and the Scottish psychopath strikes again. And, of course, this was the match between Jacob, Sammy, and Cody, which is another one that's really hard to figure out who's going to win, considering it's Cody Rhodes, who's babyface top star, Sami Zayn, who's really pushing and is also a babyface top star, and you have Jacob Fatu, who is currently feuding with Cody Rhodes, so that kind of could have went either way. Drew attacked Jacob because he wanted Sami Zayn to win, because he wanted the easy win, kind of, I think is what they were trying to do. But Cody ends up winning. He's going to the chamber. Please don't let Cody win the chamber. I'm sorry, as much as I like him. I think it would just be a little bit boring I just think it'd be boring. I want a new dynamic. I talked about that last week. I don't just want Drew versus Cody at Mania. You can put Cody on the card somewhere else. You can do Cody versus Jacob in a blood feud, TLC type match at Mania that people would love. And you need a match like that over on WrestleMania to, kind of give it a little bit more hype. Because if you do a TLC, people are going to watch. So just not Cody, please. I really wouldn't like it, but it wouldn't shock me if it is. So, but the match itself between Sammy and Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes was spectacular, and they killed it. What are the 3 most overhated themes on the current roster? Not overrated, overhated. So the first one that comes to mind is the Judgment Day theme song. So the Judgment Day theme song, comparatively to their old one, The Other Side by Alter Bridge, is bad. But the theme song alone, it kind of fits their vibe well, because it's kind of they're a faction. It's not supposed to be a super vibey type song, even though I think it is vibey, but it makes sense for the Judgment Day because they're not that top faction anymore. They're just not. So as much as I like the Alter Bridge song, The Other Side, because it's a banger, and it's probably, I think it's one of, if not the greatest theme song of all time. People hate on it just because of that. The Judgment Day theme by itself is kind of a banger. It's really catchy. So I just kind of think people hate on that one a little bit too much. The second one, what's another one people hate? I mean, some people hate. I'm really trying to run through the roster. People don't like Kit. Like, it's people have been like either love or hate with Kit Wilson's theme song. So, oh, the next one, I think the one that gets hated on the most after that is Logan Paul's theme song, which is a banger. It is a certified banger, and people hate on it all the time. And it just talks about him being humble, which people are like, that's dumb because he's not humble. And it's like, that's the point. That's the point. It's is super ironic and it's super catchy. And I seriously enjoy his theme song like a lot. Like, I got a playlist full of WWE theme songs that I listen to during, whenever I'm working out. And every time this one comes on, like you can't not sit there and vibe out with it a little bit. The last one I'm going to say is between either Gunther's or the new El Grande Americano. And like, I think Gunther's is going to be the honorable mention because people like this theme better because it's like, oh, this is Walter, which was like his old character, and that's the theme song he used to use. I think that theme song that he currently has so much more aura than the last one because it just seems more like proper European, type of elements to it. I'm going to say the new El Grande because people have been royally hating on this one. And I like it because it's supposed to get the fans a bit more involved with, the Olays. And the reason they had to change it was because they knew OG El Grande was coming back. The OG El Grande entrance theme, by the way, is like one of my favorites because I think it's like classic Mexican restaurant music, which fits so well because it's a dude pretending to be Mexican, which of course we don't know who it is. We don't. But I think the Judgment Day theme and the new El Grande theme, and then Logan Paul's theme, I think those are like super overhated because I think they're vibey in essence, but people hate it because either the superstar Logan Paul or that it's maybe just not as good as the original song that they had. So those are my 3 picks. Moving over to Raw. Where does the Vision go from here? I think they should become a killer faction. And also Logan Paul, they come out and he immediately references his $16 million Pokemon card, which I was watching that live stream whenever he was selling it and opening packs. It was super fun. I love Pokemon, so I was of course gonna hop on that stream and watch it for a little bit. It was really entertaining. But I knew he was going to end up referencing like, you guys have never seen $16 million in your entire life. And, all that stuff. Like, it was funny. But the Vision having their 2 main people hurt, being Seth and Braun Breaker, which I guess Seth isn't a part of it anymore since he got turned on. But I don't think you do this thing where it's like the Vision goes stagnant and they kind of just like, they're like, oh, let's just be a nuisance over here on Raw. You need to make them start killing people. Like, it needs to go back to, like, even though Braun Breaker's not there, it needs to be, let's let these 3 guys, Austin Theory and Bronson Reed and Logan Paul, let's have them take the forefront and really show that they have some power and control over on Raw. And I think that's how it needs to stay, honestly, because if you let this faction die down a little bit and lose traction and not look as strong, the entire Vision has been a waste. That's kind of what it seems like. So I think they need to go out on Raw and they need to just pick people apart, which they can do it through cheating, I guess. They're heels. They do heelish things, but they need to go out and just not lose matches. Or if they lose a match, after the match, it needs to be, we're going to beat the hell out of this person just because we're the Vision. So saw this online. Puka Nakua is potentially dating Charlotte Flair. He's had some controversy this year. I don't know what it was all about. I'm not even going to look into it. I don't even understand it. He got some hate for something he did earlier this year with like a touchdown celebration. This got to be worse. I'm sorry. I don't know what the other thing was, so don't quote me on that. But Puka Nakua potentially dating Charlotte Flair. Gross. Like, are we serious? You are a successful wide receiver, and you are going after Charlotte Flair? Now, granted, I'm a hater. I really am. But, like, brother, I lost all respect for you. You saw Cooper DeJean and Nikki Bella do their thing, and you're like, oh, I know an attractive one, Charlotte Flair. There are just so many better looking girls on the roster that you could probably pull because you're Puka Nakua, a wide receiver for the Rams. It's just like, and you chose Charlotte. Give me a break. It's disgusting. It's gross. And she's not as bad of a cougar as Nikki Bella is, but it's borderline. Bronson Reed versus OG El Grande versus Jey Uso Chamber qualifying match. Who won this? Oh wait, this is next week. That's why I was like, wait, hold on a sec. Yeah. So this match is gonna be fire. And here's what I think is going to happen. What I think is gonna happen is you're gonna get Bronson Reed stomped by the Masked Man. I think that's bound to happen, right? I think he's bound to get involved. I don't see him winning, even though he is great inside Elimination Chamber. Like I said, he was actually in the 2023 Austin Theory US title match. Like, he was in there. So, he can go. I don't want it to be Jey Uso because he's doing his own thing in the tag division. Just, no, not him, please. And then you have OG El Grande Americano, which is my pick, but it's not the OG. I think it's the new El Grande that's going to win this. Because I think they're going to do a thing where over on AAA, the OG El Grande Americano took the new one's title shot by, handcuffing him to something and going out in his place. I think they're going to do that here. And I think the new El Grande is actually going to win in his spot, and then it's going to lead to OG El Grande getting involved in the Elimination Chamber match and causing the new one to go out, which further lights their feud. So my pick is an El Grande Americano, but a Bronson Reed win here would also make a lot of sense to help further the vision, but I think the Masked Man's going to get involved again, so I'm not 100% sure to pick him. So I'm going to pick someone that's not even in the match. I'm going to pick the new El Grande to win this match. The 6-man tag match over on Raw was a banger. Like I said, the Vision picks up the win, which is perfect. I like the way they did it too. Bronson Reed did a huge cross body to the outside, like a suicide dive, which I was like, yo, what? Because that's a big dude. That's a Boeing 747 flying at you from between those ropes. And that was sick. And along with that, they pick up the win. Logan Paul hits the monster right hand, followed by the tsunami. And it leads to the Masked Man stomping Logan Paul. That was the first time I looked at the Masked Man that's been showing up. And I'm like, that's just Grayson Waller. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Because later on in the night, we end up seeing Grayson Waller. He has the same beard. I didn't know he's been growing out his facial hair more. Like, I was like, yeah, the build's maybe it, but I'm not sure about the stash. And it's like, that's Grayson Waller. It's the exact same build, kind of the same mannerisms that he uses. So, and I don't think it's going to be this thing where he's going to reveal himself. It's going to be like, oh, Grayson Waller's the Masked Man. They're just building this. They were like, who's a guy that kind of looks like Seth Rollins, maybe? Okay, cool. Have him in the mask so, whenever it's time, Seth's going to be ready to go. Now, if they do a thing where it's like, this is actually Grayson Waller, and, this is actually Grayson Waller, and it comes to time, and he takes off his mask, and it's been Grayson this whole time, it kind of lights this thing with Austin Theory, considering they were tag partners, but then does Theory turn on the Vision? Because I think he's just he's infiltrating the Vision because of Seth. And I think Seth is kind of not manipulating him, but but he's the one who told him to go in and do all this stuff with the Vision, kind of get close before they could eventually turn on them. And it would make sense because now you would have Logan Paul and Bronson Reed, and then Braun Breaker whenever he comes back. And then you'd have Seth Rollins, Grayson Waller, and Austin Theory. 3-on-3. Who knows? This is kind of like this is super up in the air, kind of just like throwing out some predictions. If you have a better idea, let me know down below. I would love to know what you guys think. But I think that's an option, or I think he's just a replacement. Not fully sure about it, but next week we're getting Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Io Sky. I think Raquel wins. As much as I want Kairi to win, as much as I'd like Io to win, I'd even love Raquel to win this. Like, I really could care less, but I think Raquel getting the win here actually makes sense because they're trying to push her in the Raw main event scene. And if she picks up the win and goes to the Elimination Chamber, it makes her look strong, makes Raw look stronger. Kind of makes sense in essence. I think Kairi and Io, the way you don't make them look weaker is you really put focus on their relationship, and maybe Asuka gets involved and Rhea might be there. Like, really, who knows? But I see Raquel picking up the win here. I think the only problem is Io in the chamber is fantastic. Like, she's going to kill it. So would Kairi Sane. So Kairi, I just don't think is high enough on the totem pole to beat these two girls. But it would be fire. My guess is Io. My guess is going to be Io, but I'm honestly just not sure at the moment. So I'm going to say Io, but whoever wins, I'm totally fine with. Next, we head back to a backstage segment, and we get a crate that is dated for Elimination Chamber. What's in the crate? What's in the crate? I'm confused. Now, here's the thing. People online are trying to make guesses. We don't have a clue. It is a closed box. That is huge. It could house Chris Jericho. It could house, thousands of bottles of melatonin, or it could house freaking dynamite. Like, literally, who knows what could actually be in here. But I think this is a superstar. This might be a superstar. Potentially. Could it be a new championship? Could it, in my mind, it's like maybe this is like a mixed tag championships, but they're like too big. It seems like a superstar's inside of here, right? Is it Seth Rollins? Could Seth Rollins be in? Because that's the most Seth thing ever. It's the most Seth thing ever to put himself inside of a box. I just now thought of this. If people have been saying this online, I haven't seen it, but Seth being inside the box would make a lot of sense. Make a lot of sense because Elimination Chamber would probably be about the time he'd be ready to go, and it could light this feud with the Vision. And maybe if the Vision's involved with some sort of match, it's like, don't open this until this date, and it's Seth Rollins. Or something of the sort. I really don't know, but I would love it to be Seth. That'd be really funny. But the crate is kind of like I said, it's a fun new aspect that you're just sprinkling onto the shows. It's great. It's something to keep in the back of your mind at all time. It's not just like these two people go out and have a match and they hate each other. Now it's like, okay, these two have the match, but remember that crate that was on Raw? What's going to happen with that? What's inside of the crate? It's something to keep your brain turning, something that's going to keep you thinking about the WWE at all times. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I'm like, oh, what could be in the crate? Which is funny because I just now thought of Seth Rollins being in there. But who knows? Whatever it is, it's going to be sick. So I'm excited to see what's in it. My guess for now, Seth Rollins. El Grande Americano says he's coming for the IC title and then proceeds to lose to Penta. So he's not really coming for the IC title because he's doing this thing with Chad Gable. But, Dom's kind of his boy, and him saying that's a little bit weird, but kind of just going to move past that because Penta ends up winning, so it doesn't even matter. And then we moved to Natalia. Bro, I can't with Natalia. Dude, she's just so cringy. She's so cringy. I can't do it. Her like face down, and she keeps flashing her mouth guard, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not Natalia anymore. I'm Natty." And that means I'm mean now. It's like, who the hell cares? Who the hell cares? Nobody. And then along with that, you get this thing with Maxine, and she's doing the whole like screaming gimmick where she's like, "I'm gonna break Natty's ankle," and she's like screaming. This like this whole thing just doesn't work. It does, like, to me it doesn't work. I understand like Natty being mean, I can like, it's fine, but Maxine is not like screaming rage. Like, that's not who she is. She is a underdog pretty girl who just randomly happened to win the IC title, and she works her butt off. But she's not like this rage monster or something that they're trying to build her up to be. So I don't like that. Even though I do like Maxine, but I would much rather her just be like, Natty made me lose my title, and she needs to be like more like solemn, and she needs to be like more upset. Cause this is like a friend that has betrayed her, and she needs to be like, it needs to be more like sad. Like, I don't understand what I did wrong, but I have to stand up to her. That kind of thing. Don't do this thing where it's like, "I'm gonna kill you," and she's just like screaming. It's like, no, like that doesn't work for me with Maxine. Then, what do we have here? Yeah, I said I can't with Natalia. Oh, I got a little would you rather. Would you rather take a chop from Gunther once a week or a splash through a table from Jeff Hardy every time you go to the gym? So would it be like I walk into the gym and I just get teleported onto a table, take the splat, obviously the swanton, take the swanton from Jeff Hardy through the table, and then I get teleported right back to the gym? I've always wanted to go through a table. I have always wanted to do that. The only problem is I work out like 3 or 4 times a week now. So 3 or 4 times a week, I'm taking a splash from Jeff Hardy through a table, a swanton, I mean. But a Gunther chop once a week, I mean, that hurts, right? I mean, that's like a big old pancake, a big old frying pan, just laying it down on you. So that would suck. But 3 or 4 times a week, I guess it can't be that bad. I guess maybe it toughened me up a little bit. I'm going to take the Jeff Hardy, which that might, because, it's going to happen more, but I think it'd actually be less painful than a Gunther chop. Now, who knows what height he's coming from. I'm just going to say like from like ring, like from the top rope, which actually really isn't that bad. And also he's a professional, so I think he'd probably protect me pretty well. So I'm going to say Jeff Hardy through the table every time I go to the gym. Asuka wins the Chamber qualifier, and in my opinion, this was a good match, and it was the best choice. I think Asuka being in here makes sense. She's, a former winner. She can immediately insert herself into the main event scene. There's no reason for her to lose, in my opinion, so I think this was the best choice. Then Stephanie Vaquer goes up to Liv. Dom is being used as the translator, which is great because now Stephanie can cut great promos in her language. Dom can, he can translate to Liv, and it makes this aspect work super well, which I love. But she makes Liv cry. She made Liv Morgan cry. Bro, Liv is going to beat her ass at WrestleMania. She like that's not what Liv does. Liv is like a little bit clinically insane, but she don't cry. She don't cry. That's not part of her character. So her being that disturbed by what she said, yeah. Liv's going to pick Stephanie, and Liv's going to kill her and take her title. That's my guess for Mania. Now the promo she cut was great because she was like, well, you've had everything gifted to you in WWE, which by the way is not true at all, because she was with the freaking Riot Squad and she had to work her way out of that faction. She almost gets cut. She has to rebuild herself, and now she's finally seeing all this success after almost 10 years in the business. But Stephanie was like, we didn't have like all these gyms and stuff where where I come from in Chile, and it was a very good promo in her native language, and I like them to keep that going with Dominic as the translator, because it works really well for me. And then after that, it leads to the CM Punk and Finn promo, and leads to that. But before that, we get the Finn and Dom thing where he's like, Finn and JD are fighting in the back, and Dom's like, guys, I have a match. Like, come on, you got to help me out. But CM Punk is a big part of the Judgment Day splitting storyline, and I like it because it puts it on a main event forefront. It puts, like, you take CM Punk, biggest character over on Raw because people love him, top tier guy. You're taking Finn, who's also a top tier guy in my opinion, and you're actually putting him and the Judgment Day split that you're building on the front page of Raw of what's going on, which I like that a lot. And then I think they're gonna split. I've said it so many times. The build they're doing for this is fantastic. And then of course we move on to the El Grande Americano match. This match was a banger. Penta ends up picking up the win, but then the OG Americano almost unmasks new El Grande. It was like nose height. We saw the bottom of the person's face, which I couldn't see who it was because it was, it's people saying it's Ludwig Kaiser, but it's not. He's a, great luchador that's been around for hundreds of years. So great match, builds up the El Grande storyline a lot more. And then we move on from that, which is kind of what I was saying earlier. Judgment Day, they go backstage. Finn and JD get into it. JD's like, dude, we could have hurt him and we could have messed him up. And Finn's like, I just want to be by myself for this match, and basically just cuts off the Judgment Day, which again, just building it up even more. Then Xavier Woods is injured, which sucks. Grayson Waller comes out, cuts a great promo about how much Memphis sucks, and it was really funny, and he makes fun of John Morant wanting to leave, which is, like their hometown hero. Kind of hitting him where it hurts, but great promo from him. And then on Monday night, you got the whoop that Trick chant all night, which kind of just puts Trick more over as a whole, and because he's not even on Raw, which is crazy. Corey Graves ends up randomly mentioning there was once a man that forgot gravity, that gravity forgot, which is referencing Neville from back in the day. That's, that was his old nickname, the man that gravity forgot. So I thought that was a fun little reference. And then, of course, we get Dom versus Gunther versus Javon, which was an incredible match. Like I said earlier, Dom getting pinned doesn't make the mid-card title look good. I already kind of touched on that. But I don't understand why you, like, Dragon Lee getting involved and hitting Gunther with the bell to make Gunther not get pinned. That's great. That's fantastic. But Dom getting pinned kind of hurts the IC title a little bit. But here's the thing. Javon Evans was beyond the right choice. He is going to kill it inside the Elimination Chamber. He's going to put on a freaking show. Javon is going to kill it. Best choice. And honestly, it was kind of like an upset win because everybody was like, okay, well, Gunther's going to win. But even I said, I was like, if someone gets involved like a Dragon Lee or someone, like I could see Javon winning this. But I think I picked Gunther, but I'm going to take that loss in the chin because Javon won, and that's the best pick. Coming from a Dom fan, Dom, like, he's going to have his chance in the Elimination Chamber at some point, but this is the Elimination Chamber is literally meant for Javon Evans. This is my final question. Final question says, what's your favorite cereal? Easy. Honey Nut Cheerios. They are the best cereal. Honey Nut Cheerios. And they're kind of healthy for you, I think. They got like honey in them. And they're basic. Probably not a lot of sugar and whatever. I don't know. They taste the best because honey tastes good. So Honey Nut Cheerios, my favorite cereal. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been the ZigZag with Corbin. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you can, please go check out TikTok, Instagram, and my other YouTube content, all under name The ZigZag. It's beautiful, isn't it? We got a bunch of short form content that you guys seriously will love. I just posted a tier list video ranking all of Raw's 2025, the Raw, superstars. So go check that out, please. And then if you would, maybe go subscribe and follow and like all my stuff, because it helps push my content and I appreciate that. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching or listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.